If you can't get rid of the raspiness in your voice, I have a few tips today of why that might be and how you can fix it. Hi and welcome to today's video. If you don't know me yet, my name is Freya, professional singer and vocal coach from Germany. Let's talk about the rasp in your voice. There are two approaches really. The first thing you have to make sure is that you don't actually have damaged vocal cords. So if it has been going on for a long time and even when you speak, you sound very raspy and even have this breathiness and it feels like something covers your voice, I would strongly recommend that you have your vocal cords checked out by a nose, ear, and throat specialist, just making sure that you don't have any damage on your vocal cords. So let's assume that is absolutely not the case, that your vocal cords are healthy and generally everything in your vocal tract is healthy. Here are some problems that may cause the raspiness. Number one is, of course, we have to think of the vocal cords as the physical resonators, right? So there are cords, you put air through them, and at the same time you use muscles to make the vocal cords close, and then the air makes the vocal cords vibrate. So keep in mind there's the air element, there's the pressure element, and there's the vocal cord closure element. The problem could be the vocal cord closure. If the muscles are either not trained well or they are really fatigued, you may have a rasp. If you have been singing a lot, there may be fatigue in those muscles that actually make the vocal folds close. And you can definitely train those muscles, but let's talk about first. So the vocal cord closure is important when they're not really closed. There's either breathiness or raspiness because you can't have the full vibration that is efficient. Another element could be the air. If you don't have enough air, they might not be able to vibrate. The air has to kind of match the muscle tension that makes the vocal cords close. So if I have too much air, but at the same time I'm very constricted, it might cause a rasp. I can't make a rasp when I'm not really raspy, but just think of the air. So making sure you are taking a good breath, and posture is very important in order to be able to take a deep breath. When you are very collapsed up here in your upper body, you lean forward and your muscles here are not really responding because you're just not letting them. It really has a large effect on the way you're inhaling and also on the way you're exhaling. Let's talk about your support muscles. That could also be a problem source if you don't have enough compression or enough pressure of that air that actually travels through the vocal cords. And you control that by using your support muscles, your diaphragm and everything else that is around your ribs. If that is not really used properly, then it could cause the airstream to not match the vocal cord closure, and that could cause some raspiness. Let's talk about how you could actually fix it. My experience is that practicing breathing exercises, posture exercises, and support exercises paired with openness can help a lot. So what you want to do is when you have a fatigue rasp, you want to make sure you start slowly, you start softly, not breathy, there's a difference, and you start with a hum. It usually prevents you very well from pushing too much against your vocal cords. So anything like that could really help just to warm up your vocal cords. Here's the thing, if you already feel a rasp there, it might be because of your spacing. If you have a very narrow throat, then it lends itself, it's almost like your vocal cords, they're not free to vibrate fully. And then you have this ah, and then you have a little bit of vocal fry coming in very easily. So vocal fry is not a very dangerous kind of rasp because you basically can sing on it for a long time without hurting your vocal cords. But there's this huge difference between ah and ah. You can see I have a round space, most importantly, in there. Okay, so back, if I turn sideways, this would be the pharyngeal space. It can either be very narrow or very wide. And here's the thing, when you're tired and fatigued, you tend to not use those muscles a lot to open up that pharyngeal space. And then, for me, it always happens when I'm tired. I have the tendency to be more raspy and a lot more vocal fry comes in just because of the fact that I'm not opening a lot and just kind of, you want to make sure you have all those muscles fully engaged. Another thing is, and I have videos about that, you need energy to put into it. I don't know, today is a day where I'm kind of lower energy. I don't know why that is. I just don't have that, all bubbling over kind of energy. And on those days, I tend to speak lower, and that's when I have more of a rasp. Make sure you start singing in a range in your voice that is very comfortable. And here's the thing, always remember that singing is very much a muscular process. Most likely it is a muscular problem where either some muscles are not strengthened properly, or the muscles are not warmed up properly, or they're fatigued, they're not engaged enough, and it could have a lot of problem sources. So either it's just the overall energy that prevents you from really engaging all the muscles, or it's just the fact that you haven't trained, or it's just the fact that you have oversung too much and now you're tired. So here's a strategy that I advise. You want to start in your low to mid voice, do the humming like I showed you, and then slowly open up from a hum like so. Just stay on one pitch and see if the rasp starts at any point. Even when you're humming, make sure you're making space. So I always tell my students, a walnut should at least fit inside of your mouth. So your tongue doesn't touch your hard palate on top. Your tongue is down there, and then there is a lot of space. And also it continues on back into your pharyngeal space in your throat to where there is an opening. Think ah, but close your lips. So basically it's and while you're humming, you have to check, am I pushing too much air? Am I pushing too little air? Am I constricting in the throat? Am I taking a deep breath? Do I have some expansion? Am I engaging my support muscles to where I have a very steady airstream? Or do I already hear like a wobble? If you hear a wobble, then it might be a problem of your support muscles because you don't have a steady airstream. Your muscles are not steady. It's just a wobble. But opening from the closed if you can have a nice clear tone on the then move on to opening up to the ah. And if you start having the rasp on the ah, then that is a sign that you're changing something. And then check again on your way to the ah. Are you changing your opening position? I mean, except for the lips, they do open, but in your throat, are you more constricted? Do you push more or less air through? And do you change anything about your support? You want to check those bases. So if I go then I'm changing, I'm constricting, or this is really exaggerated, but if you really change one of the elements too much, it might cause you to go back to the rasp. The main thing is you want to Think of your vocal cords as muscles that can be massaged. Even when they're a little tense and tight and tired and fatigued, you can massage them. So doing slow humming and not too high in your voice, really taking it easy, but at the same time paying attention to doing it a very proper way, making sure you have good posture, you expand, you take a deep breath, and then you have an even breath, even stream of air with good vocal cord closure, not too much breathiness, or ideally no breathiness, clarity in the tone, and a nice opening, a clear, nicely placed resonant vowel that will go a long ways in making sure you have that clean sound and crisp sound. Here's one thing, if your rasp only starts when you're singing high, if it's okay throughout your range, but when you start belting really high, that's when you have a rasp. Na 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 na. I don't want to really demonstrate it because it's bad for the voice. Then you are pushing too much against your vocal cords. You don't have enough compression. You're pushing too much air through. So basically that closure of your vocal cords has to be there, very tightly closed in order to produce that higher frequency. But at the same time, your airstream has to get more dense, but more thin. So it's almost like a laser beam. When you sing really low and your vocal cords are shorter and thicker, and it's okay, there's more of an opening between them, it's okay to have like a thicker airstream. Think of it as the size of your airstream, a thicker airstream passing through because there's a slow vibration. If you sing a really high pitch, you need more pressure, more density of the air column. If you've ever played an instrument that needs air, such as a flute or clarinet, it's the same system. It's the same principle that when you sing lower, it takes more air, but the air is slower and not as much pressure. When you try to play a really high pitch, you need much more pressure. You create basically by using your support muscles and your lips. So in singing, of course, you can only use your support because the airstream needs to go through here and not just up here through another instrument. Doesn't help when you make your lips tighter. So make sure you have that density in your airstream. And I have a course, 7 Days to Perfect Support, that is for free. You can get it on my website. If you go through that, you become much more aware of your support muscles and how to create more of that density of the airstream. It is really dangerous if you continuously belt high and you have that rasp. That is not intentional, but that rasp by putting too much pressure against the vocal cords. You need to balance that dense airstream and good vocal cord closure. Really important principle. And basically it works the same for your head voice. When you have too much of a rasp, like a lot of times it is not enough space, not enough density in your air, not enough vocal cord closure. I have to admit, usually when it's a high head voice pitch, probably it's mostly the space that creates the clarity. When you're too narrow in your throat and that pharyngeal space isn't open, it's almost like you're choking off your own tone. It's like you're choking your throat and then you can't really create a clear tone. Okay, let me know in the comments if any of this resonated with you. I mean, not just your voice. It resonated with you because I've had a lot of students who had these problems and we usually work them out by working on these areas. And it got so much better. And again, it's really important that you make sure you don't have actual vocal cord damage. If you're fatigued, it's a good idea to take a break. But the point is, if you get fatigued very quickly, that is not normal either. So if after 10 minutes of singing or 15 minutes, you already start to get raspy again, then you are definitely putting too much pressure on something. You are not doing something right. And again, check your bases. I have a course, Back to the Basics. That is my signature paid course. That really takes you through all those areas, all those baselines, that all the elements that need to be in place for you to perfectly vocalize and have perfect control. So if you're interested, check it out. You will also find it on my website. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share it with a friend who may also have that same problem. Join my free Facebook group. It is at Master Your Voice on Facebook, and we have great conversations there. And every Thursday, you can share your own singing videos to just kind of show your progress and what you're doing. And if you have not read my book, also called Master Your Voice. You can get it on Amazon. I also have an audiobook version available on my website. It's gonna inspire you and motivate you. Subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, always keep a song in your heart and always keep on singing.
Let the sky fall when it crawls.